Hello students, today we will be discussing Unit 6 Environmental Policies and Practices. The first topic in this unit is climate change. Let us first understand what is climate. Climate can be defined as an average of weather conditions such as rainfall, temperature, and wind at a particular point on the earth. Now, when these average climatic conditions change over a period of time and this change persists, it is known as climate change. Worldwide, this phenomena was observed after Industrial Revolution. So the major contributor to the climate change was Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution began in Europe in the late 18th and 19th century. During this period, there was an increase in the use of coal to fuel the heavy machinery that was used in production. Then by the end of 20th century, the entire world was dependent on fossil fuels like natural gas, oil, coal. All of these contributed to the increase in greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases means carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide. So all of these gases, their concentration increased. It was found that the concentration of CO2 in 18th century was about 280 parts per million. But now it is around 400 parts per million. Similarly, methane, which was 722 parts per billion in 18th century, now it is around 1800 parts per billion. Nitrous oxide, which was around 270 parts per billion, now it is 332 parts per billion in 2019. So clearly it is indicated that there is increase in the concentration of these gases in the atmosphere, and the major contributor to this increase was Industrial Revolution and burning of fossil fuels over the last 2 centuries. Then human activities like deforestation. So the population of the world is continuously growing, and in order to meet the growing needs of human population, the trees are cut down for construction activity, building infrastructure. So all of this has contributed to deforestation. Now deforestation results in decreasing the carbon sinks. That means the trees, they absorb carbon dioxide during the process of photosynthesis. So the decrease in carbon sinks results increase in the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Then agricultural practices also. Traditional agricultural practices over a period of time, they have contributed to increase in the concentration of methane gas. Then use of synthetic fertilizers, they have contributed to increase in the concentration of nitrous oxide. So various human activities are the major contributors to the climate change. The effects of climate change are increased in the temperature of the earth. Now if we compare from 1880s, the earth's average surface temperature has risen by around 0.07 degrees Celsius every decade. So there are also heat waves nowadays in various regions. Heat wave is a abnormal hot weather which lasts for more than 2 days. Now in some areas there are heavy floods. Coastal areas are affected by increasing floods. Then because of increasing the rise in the sea level, the coastal areas are affected much. Flood is observed in the areas where the amount of water in the river increased due to melting of glaciers. So there are extreme climatic conditions in some region. Some region there is a heavy rainfall, in some region there is an extreme drought which is observed. Then let us first understand this phenomena which is global warming. Now, a general increase in average temperature of the earth as a result of increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases in air is known as global warming. So we have two concepts here, that there is increase in the average temperature of the earth. Okay, now why there is increase in this average temperature? Because of increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases. Which are these greenhouse gases? Carbon dioxide, methane, then nitrous oxide, water vapor, and chlorofluorocarbons. Now let us first understand what is this greenhouse effect. So on the left side of this diagram, you can see that when the sun's energy reaches the earth, okay, these greenhouse gases, they form a blanket. Okay, so this blanket will try to absorb some of the energy which is radiated back by the earth or re-emitted by the earth. So that is responsible for maintaining the temperature on the earth, and in turn, because of that, various life processes happen like photosynthesis. If this greenhouse effect, natural greenhouse effect, was absent, earth would have been very cold planet. So that is the natural greenhouse effect, that CO2, methane and water vapor, they form a protective blanket of gases around the earth, and these gases prevent the sun's solar energy from escaping into the space, so thereby they keep the earth's atmosphere warm, and this helps to sustain life on the earth. Basically, they keep the planet's temperature as that is required. Okay, it means not too cold. Now towards the right of this diagram, you can see that there is enhanced greenhouse effect. What happens in enhanced greenhouse effect? When the concentration of these gases, that is methane, carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons and nitrous oxide, increase in the atmosphere. Now some of these gases have tendency to trap more heat per molecule. For example, chlorofluorocarbons, they are very efficient in trapping the heat. Methane is more potent than carbon dioxide in trapping the heat. So the energy that is emitted by the earth is trapped trapped by these greenhouse gases. As a result, what happens? Less heat escapes into the space, and the planet's temperature or the earth's temperature is increased. So greenhouse effect is used in tropical countries in the winter. Okay, you must have seen this glass house, okay, or it is also made of polythene. So greenhouse basically is an enclosure that is used to grow plants in tropical areas during winter. Again, the principle is same, that the heat is trapped by the glass or polythene into the greenhouse. So the temperature inside is warm as compared to the surroundings. This promotes photosynthesis and in turn the growth of plants inside the greenhouse. So if the natural greenhouse effect was absent, the earth would have been an icy wasteland. That means the life on the earth wouldn't have been existed. Therefore, the greenhouse gases keep earth livable by holding some of the heat energy so that it doesn't escape into the space. So let us see so far what we have studied. We have first seen what is climate change, that the weather conditions such as rainfall, temperature and wind at a particular point on the earth is known as climate. Now when these average weather conditions change over a period of time, we call it as climate change. Industrial Revolution was the major contributor of climate change. Why? Because there was an increased dependence on the fossil fuels like coal, natural gas during the 18th and 19th century and the 20th century as well. So this has contributed to the growing increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases. Then deforestation, agricultural practices, all of these are responsible for the climate change. Effects of climate change are drastic, that is, there is increase in the earth's temperature, then droughts, flood and heat wave. Also there is rise in the sea level. Then we discussed what is global warming. Okay, so it is increase in the average temperature of the earth because of the increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases. Which are the greenhouse gases? Carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, nitrous oxide, chlorofluorocarbons. These are the greenhouse gases. Now amongst these, methane is more potent than carbon dioxide. Okay, even CFCs are more potent. Now This greenhouse effect is observed in nature where these greenhouse gases, that is carbon dioxide, water vapor, they form a thin blanket of gases around the earth. So this traps the heat that is emitted by the earth and keep the earth warm. But in case of when the concentration of these gases in the atmosphere increase, the amount of heat trapped is more, and this leads to increase in the temperature. Then we have seen that this phenomenon is used to grow plants in tropical areas during winter. So a glass house or this polythene house is used to trap the heat inside the greenhouse, and it increases the growth of plants. So the surroundings are cold while the temperature inside is warm. So if the greenhouse effect was absent, the earth would have been an icy wasteland. That means it wouldn't have been a livable place. Okay. Having understood this, let us now understand the causes of greenhouse effect. Why there is increase in the greenhouse effect, or let us say what are the causes of global warming. Okay. Now, first and foremost is the burning of fossil fuel. Now these causes are of the enhanced greenhouse effect, thereby leading to the global warming. First and foremost are the burning of fossil fuels. Okay. What are fossil fuels? Fossil fuels are obtained from the decomposing plants and animals in the earth's crust. Okay, so over hundreds and millions of years, the plants and animals which have been buried in the earth, they have decomposed and they have in turn contributed to the development of fossil fuels. So every step in their extraction and their use produce carbon dioxide. Now this is a very important greenhouse gas. It is said that fossil fuels are responsible for about 3/4 of the emissions, greenhouse gas emissions around the world. So here you can see an illustration of the types of fossil fuels. There is coal, then there is oil, there is natural gas, kerosene, propane. All of these are the fossil fuels. Then the second category is CFCs. Now CFC stands for chlorofluorocarbons. So as the name suggests, chlorofluorocarbons. So these are the compounds that contain carbon, fluorine and chlorine. Okay. So two important halogens are there, which is fluorine and chlorine, and these CFCs, they are used in air conditioners, then refrigerators, okay, then industrial solvents, plastic foams, aerosols, propellants. Propellants are used in rocket engines, if you know. So all of these were widely used. Now, these are considered to be more potent when we compare them to carbon dioxide. So you can see here that they trap 1500 times more heat per molecule than carbon dioxide. So they are highly potent when compared to carbon dioxide. Examples of CFCs, which are major contributors to the global warming or greenhouse effect, they are difluoromethane, then carbon tetrachloride, and methyl chloroform. Okay, there are a number of CFCs, but these are widely used or commonly used and commonly used in the articles of everyday use. Okay, like refrigerators, aerosols, conditioners, air conditioners. Then the third point is deforestation. Now, cutting down of trees for various purposes such as agriculture, construction, then infrastructure building, that is building of roads, bridges, can be said as deforestation. Okay. Why there is a need to fell trees? Because the population of the world is continuously increasing. So in order to meet the needs of growing population in terms of food, in terms of their shelter, the trees are being cut down. But trees are known as carbon sinks because in the process of photosynthesis, they absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and convert this carbon dioxide into food, that is carbohydrates. Some of the largest forests like Amazon forest, you must have heard, they are known as carbon sinks and also lungs of the earth. Okay, so if such forests are destroyed, then who is going to absorb large amounts of CO2? Okay, so forests are very, very helpful in absorbing the CO2 from the atmosphere and maintaining its concentration. So deforestation leads to global warming, okay, by increasing the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere. Then the fourth cause of global warming is mining. Mining is extraction of mineral ore. Now, when one has to extract mineral ore, heavy machinery is used. So in this process, large amounts of earth has to be removed, and for that you need heavy machines. Now all of these machines, they run on fossil fuel that release carbon dioxide. Okay. Then there are explosives that are used to blast huge quarries. These produce carbon monoxide. So these produce carbon monoxide. Now, so every process from extraction of mineral ore to its utility contributes to the greenhouse gas emission. Therefore, mining around it contributes 5% of greenhouse gas emissions. Then the next are agricultural practices. Various agricultural practices such as tilling of fields, then traditional planting of crops, and also export activities, import activities, they contribute to greenhouse gas emission in some or the other way. Now, the allied agricultural activities like rearing of livestock. Livestock is responsible for emission of methane. Then burning of agricultural residues. You might have seen that after harvesting the crop, whatever residue is left, it is being burnt. Traditional cultivation methods like rice cultivation. So all of these, they contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. Now let us see how various agricultural activities they contribute to the greenhouse gas emissions and in turn global warming. So let us first look at the rearing of farm animals, that is cattle. Okay. Now these are known as ruminants. In these animals, there is a process known as enteric fermentation. So, in their stomach, the food is broken down by microbial fermentation, and it releases large amount of methane. Then also in traditional rice cultivation, the fields are flooded with water. So in such anaerobic conditions, methane is produced by methanogenic bacteria. So that is responsible for emission of methane. Then after the harvest of the crops, the fields are the residue in the field is cleared and then it is burnt. Now you can see in this image that burning of the agricultural residue contributes to emission of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, then nitrous oxide. Also, increase of nitrogenous fertilizers, synthetic fertilizers, has led to increase of the emission of nitrous oxide. So, agricultural practices around the world also contribute to the increase in the greenhouse gas concentrations. Then the next are the landfills. Landfills are the sites that are used to dump garbage. Now what happens, the organic matter which is present in the landfill over the time decomposes to form landfill gas. Okay, and which is this well-known landfill gas? Methane. We have seen that methane is much more potent as a greenhouse gas when compared to carbon dioxide. And also it produces small amount of other gases like oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon dioxide and water vapor. So landfills are another factors which contribute to the greenhouse gas emissions. Then volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruptions, they inject huge amount of gases, ash, into the atmosphere when the volcanoes erupt. Now, in this, carbon dioxide is a potent gas which contributes to global warming. So, let us now look at the causes of greenhouse effect and in turn causing the global warming. So, the first were burning of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels like coal, oil, and petroleum, these are increasingly used nowadays in various activities, human activities. So they produce carbon dioxide, which is again an important greenhouse gas. Then we talked about CFCs, that nowadays from the 18th and the 19th century, fossil fuels were used on a large scale. In the 20th century, discovery of CFCs was a major breakthrough, and therefore nowadays we use these products like air conditioners, refrigerators, then also in the industries. CFCs or chlorofluorocarbons, they are used on a large scale. Often the rockets, propellants in the rocket engines, they contain CFCs. Now when compared to carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons were more potent in trapping the heat. We have seen that they can trap 1500 times more heat per CO2 molecule, and therefore they contribute to the global warming. Examples of chlorofluorocarbons which were widely used were dichloro-difluoromethane, carbon tetrachloride, methyl chloroform. Then the third factor is deforestation. Deforestation, why it is a major contributor to the global warming? Because in the process of photosynthesis, trees absorb carbon dioxide and they convert this carbon dioxide into food, that is carbohydrates. So they help to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And when trees are cut down, it increases the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, leading to global warming. So some of the large forests, tropical forests such as Amazon forest, they are known as lungs of the earth. Therefore these forests, they are efficient carbon sinks, and they help to prevent global warming. So deforestation can only enhance global warming. Then mining is a activity to extract the mineral ore. Okay, we need minerals nowadays in every aspect of our life, right from the electronics that we have, then different products that we use, we require minerals. So minerals are used in every aspect of our life, but the process right from their extraction and their use contributes to the release of greenhouse gases. Because in order to extract mineral ore, one requires heavy machines, and these machines, because large amount of earth has to be removed while in the process, and therefore it releases. Now these machines, they run on fossil fuels, and which in turn releases the carbon dioxide. Then the explosives that are used to blast these mineral quarries, it produces carbon monoxide. So mining has contributed to around 5% greenhouse gas emissions. Then agricultural practices. So agricultural practices, we have seen a number of agricultural practices such as tilling of the fields. So nowadays there is a required emergencies. People say that do not till your fields, keep the residue as it is and grow. So tilling of field releases the soil carbon, and that is why this nowadays the tillage is not recommended. Okay. Then planting of crops. This we have taken example of traditional rice cultivation. What is done in traditional rice cultivation? The field is flooded with water. This produces anaerobic conditions. So in these anaerobic conditions, what happens? The methanogenic bacteria, they release methane. Okay. Then livestock rearing, that is the enteric fermentation of the cattle. Okay, it releases methane. So how much percentage is contributed by livestock? Around 14.5. Then we have seen that burning of the farm residue releases methane, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide. Also the use of synthetic fertilizers, it releases nitrous oxide. Synthetic nitrogen fertilizer, it releases nitrous oxide. Then landfills, we have seen landfills are the garbage dumping sites. So over a period of time, they release, by the organic matter which is present in the landfill, it undergoes decomposition and releases the landfill gas. This is methane. Also, landfills produce carbon dioxide and water vapor and trace amounts of other gases. So all of these are the contributors of greenhouse gas emissions and in turn global warming. Yes, we also discussed about the volcanic eruptions. That when volcanoes erupt, they release large amounts of gases like sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, ash, but the major contributor to the greenhouse gas effect is the carbon dioxide. So this is a very good summary of different causes of increase in the greenhouse gas concentration and in turn causing global warming. So the direct emissions are by combustion of fossil fuels, then the vehicles that we use every day. Okay. But they all require fossil fuels. So they are responsible for directly emitting these gases. Then there are some indirect emissions like purchasing of electricity, heat or steam. So the emissions in this process also contributes to global warming. Then wastes that are dumped in the landfills, then the processed product, all of these processes at every step they release the greenhouse gases, one or the other greenhouse gas. Okay, right from the production of a material to its utility. Then, having understood the causes of global warming, let us try to understand the effects of global warming. So the first effect of global warming is that there is an extreme climate which is observed in various parts of the earth. So extreme climatic conditions, that is, in some regions there is melting of glaciers, that is, there is increase in temperature, so there are floods in one region, and some regions they become extremely dry. So extremes of the climatic conditions are observed because of global warming. Okay, that means, like there is melting of glaciers which will lead to the flooding of rivers. There will be extreme droughts in some areas where there is no rainfall. So when the drought develops, there is tendency of forest fire. Recently we have seen forest fires in Australia in past years. So all of this is because of global warming. Okay, extreme drought-like conditions favoring the forest fires. So you get a range of climatic conditions, and also there are extremes, that means floods, and in some region there will be droughts. Now since there is an increase in the temperature, so there will be excessive evaporation. So when there is excessive evaporation, there will be increase in the rainfall. Okay, where there is more evaporation, there will be increase in the rainfall. So there will be floods in these regions. Flooding of the rivers will lead to increase in the rise, or we can say rise in the sea levels. Now island countries, small island countries, they are extremely affected by these rising sea levels, or they are more affected by the rising sea levels. Then there is increased pollution because of these greenhouse gases. Okay, the air pollution, where the concentration of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide, it increases and causes air pollution. Air pollution in turn is responsible for causing various respiratory allergies, that means asthma. Okay, so there is difficulty in breathing in the people. Okay, or we can say that the air quality decreases because of the increase in the greenhouse gases. Then certain pests, okay, they become favorable, the temperature becomes favorable for them, so their number increases. So new pests, or we can say some organisms, they multiply rapidly and they become pest. Okay, or new species come into picture. Also there are the pathogens, also they multiply rapidly, so they become strains of different pathogens, they become very effective in causing various diseases. Then destruction of coral reefs, this is very important phenomena which is observed nowadays. Okay, this is because of ocean acidification. Because what happens, the increase in concentration of carbon dioxide in the sea leads to ocean acidification, and therefore the calcification of corals, okay, there is reduced calcification of corals. So that is responsible for destroying the coral reefs. Coral reefs are one of the diverse habitats, and they harbor different species. So now if these are destroyed, the habitats of several species gets destroyed, and therefore ocean acidification due to increase in the concentration of carbon dioxide in the oceans is one of the major reason for destruction of coral reefs. Then forest fires, we have seen this in the past years, that there were drought-like conditions, and these were responsible, or extreme climate, extreme temperature, these were responsible for increasing the forest fires. Okay, so the example of this was the Australian forest fires. Everybody has seen how much loss was there in terms of different animals, different plants. Okay, then there is increased instances of disease. Yes, basically there is increase in the concentration of these greenhouse gases. There is increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases, so they deteriorate the air quality, which is responsible for causing various respiratory problems or respiratory diseases like asthma and different allergies. So definitely it also has detrimental effect on human health. Okay, so these were some of the effects of global warming. So in today's lecture we have seen, or we have tried to understand, what is climate change. Then we have understood what is natural global warming. We have understood natural greenhouse effect. Okay, and the enhanced greenhouse effect that has led to global warming. Okay, where there is increase in the average temperature of the earth. Then we have looked at this image where one can observe a difference between a natural greenhouse effect and an enhanced greenhouse effect. Then we have seen that greenhouse was used in the tropical areas to grow crops in winter. Okay. Causes of greenhouse effect: that burning of fossil fuels, chlorofluorocarbons, then deforestation, mining, agricultural practices, landfills, volcanic eruptions. All of these, they contribute to increasing the concentration of greenhouse gases, and in turn the greenhouse effect. And lastly, we have discussed what are the effects of global warming: that there are extreme climatic conditions, that is drought in some areas because of increasing temperature, and where there is more amount of water in rivers, there is excessive evaporation and an increased rainfall in some regions. So because of increased rainfall, there is flooding of rivers, followed by increase in the sea level. Okay, and also because of increasing temperature, there is melting of glaciers. Okay, the large glaciers of the earth, that is Antarctica, they show melting. Okay, and they are melting, and because of that the water in the rivers is increasing. So all of this is responsible for rising sea levels, and the countries which are mostly affected by rising sea levels are small island countries. Okay, then there is increased pollution because of the increasing greenhouse gases, so which in turn leads to respiratory allergies because the air quality is deteriorated. And some of the organisms, they multiply because the temperature or the conditions, they become favorable for them. They multiply in huge number and become pests on the farm. Then destruction of coral reefs because of ocean acidification. That means the increasing concentration of carbon dioxide in the ocean leads to destruction of coral reefs. This is because the calcification of corals is affected. Okay. Now, if coral reefs are destroyed, several habitats of different species are destroyed. Okay, then forest fires. Forest fires are there because there are extreme dry conditions in some areas, and they promote forest fire. The example of this we discussed about the Australian fire that was observed. And then there is increased instances of disease because new strains of pathogens they will become active and cause disease.